to The Dan Show, starring Dan Whalen.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to my show where we talk about all things movies, TV shows, and cigars. And today is actually Easter Sunday. Happy Easter to everybody who's watching right now. I hope everyone's hanging out with their family, eating good food, just having laughs, good times, hunting for eggs, all that fun stuff. I just wanted to wish everybody a happy Easter. We're going to get into this video. This is going to be in continuation of last week's video. Last week we talked about Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. Today we're going to be talking about the second movie in the trilogy, which would be Star Wars: Attack of the Clones. Now, before we get started, if you could please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, definitely helps me out. Stay tuned for more videos. Okay, so this movie, if you've seen it kind of like in the past, like when it first came out, this is when I really think Star Wars introduced really heavy CGI. So Yoda is now CGI in this movie, and like I said, later on they remaster all the movies where Yoda's now going to be, not a puppet anymore. He actually becomes more of like a CGI character. You'll see it if you have the extended editions, or not even the extended, but the remastered editions. You'll know what I'm talking about. But this movie's really cool. So if we remember from the first one, Anakin Skywalker, which if you didn't know, this is Darth Vader, is an adult now. He's more of like a teenager kind of kid. You know what I mean? And this is kind of where him and Padme, who ends up being his girlfriend / wife in the future, like this is where they kind of start really like mingling around, whatever. And they're in kind of secrecy about it because Padme is kind of royalty and he's just a Jedi, and Jedi are not meant to be fooling around with royally anybody because that's just not the Jedi way, which must suck. As cool as it would be to have like the Force and electricity and stuff, like you gotta get laid, man. Come on, like stop. Like what's with the monk stuff ruining all the good stuff? I don't know, whatever. But like that's gonna backfire. But anyway, so whatever. But anyway, it's like. Anyway, so that kind of is where this movie is kind of where that relationship kind of sets off into the sun, and everybody starts getting happy, whatever. But there's a lot of problems in this movie. Like I think this is one of the most political movies of the Star Wars franchise. Like there's a lot of Senate meetings and like court meetings and everything like that. And Obi-Wan essentially took Qui-Gon's word to heart and pretty much trained Anakin to become a Jedi, which ends up being pretty cool. Like actually becomes their demise later in the future. But I love this movie. Like if I'm gonna be honest with you though, this one's probably my least favorite in the whole entire franchise. And you know what? I lied about that. I probably lied about that a little bit. I think this one is still better than 7, 8, and 9. I still think it's better than those two. But anyway, we'll get into that later. But I definitely feel like this one's my least favorite if we're talking about the original like 6. Before 7, 8, and 9 came out. This one's definitely probably my least favorite one. But all in all, it's still a really good movie. We get introduced to new characters. We get a character called Count Dooku. We get to I think the coolest part of the movie is when they're in like the Colosseum and you get to see the Jedis and everybody fighting the droid army, the Separatists, and all that crap. This is also the first movie where they introduce the Death Star, which that becomes a huge problem in the future. But all in all, like this movie was really good. I could, if I were to talk all day about these movies, these videos would be an hour and a half long each, and we just don't have time for that. You know what I mean? Like it is Easter Sunday, and I still have to get to my parents' house and all that fun stuff. But all in all, like I try to keep these as brief as possible. But all in all, yeah, this movie is really cool. This movie is really awesome. There's a lot. This is definitely also, I want to say, aside from being political, this is also the most like romanticized one. Like there's a lot of romance going on between Anakin and Padme, which I would actually say like that they're like the main. I would say just like the main characters, like per se. Like I'm not saying they're the only ones, but like they are the two that the movie relatively like focuses on the most. And this is also, I would say, the beginning of Anakin Skywalker's demise. And the reason I say that is Anakin goes back to his home planet. I can't even remember the name of it. It's not Tatooine. It's something else. I don't even remember what the name of the freaking planet was. Anyway, he goes back to his home planet, and he ends up finding out that his mother was set free, kind of, or bought by somebody else. And his name was Lars, apparently. And then next thing you know, she goes missing. Anakin goes to find her, that she was captured by a bunch of sand people, like those sand people. And freaking, she ends up having, like, her last dying words is pretty much her saying just, like, I love you, and then she dies. And then Anakin, being not the super cool Jedi that he is, decides to just kind of slaughter the whole village of sand people. And that's essentially, like, where the pain and anger starts to come from, where he kind of has, like, a little bit of a temper. I don't know if he took it a little too far, but he just decides to slaughter the whole village. Which is, again, pretty much the start, or maybe, like, a little bit more of the demise of Anakin Skywalker. Now we got a bunch of other side characters. Like, I won't even say Obi-Wan Kenobi is a side character. He's just another main character in the movie. And, he's off trying to, like, he's pretty much a general. Like, he's trying to figure out, like, how the hell he's going to stop the Separatists. And then he ends up, finding out about a missing Jedi in an archive somewhere. Then he ends up going to the planet, only to find out that they've been building this guy a clone army for X amount of years. Like, and there's like a ton of them. But they're all based off of one guy, who ends up in the movie is Jango Fett, which I'm sure everybody's also heard of Boba Fett from the original 3 movies. But Jango Fett is essentially the father of Boba Fett, and the clones have essentially the same face as he does, which is kind of cool. Like, they're all just pretty much destined to be soldiers. Like, they really don't know anything else other than fighting and dying for orders, pretty much, or whoever's in charge or leading them around. Still a really cool concept, whatever, but, like, Attack of the Clones is pretty much like the Separatists are essentially winning halfway through this movie. And like I said, when they're in the Coliseum and they're trying to save Anakin, Padme, and Obi-Wan Kenobi, all the Jedi show up and there's like this big battle in this Coliseum with a bunch of droids and stuff. And right before they're about to be completely obliterated, that's when the clones show up. And I think, honestly, that is the coolest part of the movie. Like, I'm talking, it's colorful, it's action-packed, it's just really awesome to watch, and it's just non-stop action. And then, other than Darth Sidious being, like, constantly the villain in every movie, we kind of deal with more of this other character called Count Dooku, which Count Dooku is, like, I guess the master of Qui-Gon Jinn, who was also the master of Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is, like, kind of like a weird tier list, which is kind of neat at the same time. But, I don't know why, but I kind of like the fact that Count Dooku's lightsaber is, like, kind of, like, broken or bent, I don't know if it's broken or whatever. If you know what that's about, leave it in the comments, just let me know. But, oh no, I think the movie is actually, like the fight scene between Obi-Wan, Anakin Skywalker, and Count Dooku is a bit slow, and I feel like Count Dooku's just kind of, like, toying with them. But then you got your man Yoda showing up, and I remember being a kid, seeing this in the movie theater I'm talking like 2002 era, whatever. I lived in Colorado, and I went with my aunt to see it, and actually, if I remember correctly, there was a big old mountain fire outside, like literally inside of Colorado, and it was the whole sky was just gray. It was ugly. You could literally stare directly at the sun. But I actually don't think we should have went out and did anything. But we ended up going to the movies to see Star Wars: Attack of the Clones, and I'll never forget when Yoda shows up and starts confronting Count Dooku on things, and then you just see Yoda just like jumping around, like just. And I remember being like 7 or 8, just laughing my ass off in the movie theater. And you know what's funny? Even when I watch the movie now, it cracks me up. Like, it's still kind of funny seeing, like, this little dwarf midget guy just bouncing around, kicking this other guy's ass, And like I said, the movie was cool, and this movie's very nostalgic because of that moment. Like, I remember being a kid, absolutely obsessing over these movies. But, yeah, I really like Attack of the Clones. Again, I'm not going to rate these ones. Like, I don't even think I rated the first one. But they're all good. Like, you gotta watch them. If you haven't seen them, like, you're either a liar or you got a lot of work to do, because you're missing out. Like, Star Wars is awesome. I think Star Wars is some of the greatest, literally probably one of the greatest franchises ever, next to Lord of the Rings, and it's up there. It really is, and it's crazy because George Lucas, I don't think, really even expected these movies to do good, which, wow, man, shock the world. You did fantastic. You killed it. You have a forever continuation. You have, like, literally one of the greatest franchises ever, and you don't even realize it. Like, good for you, man. But all in all, like I said, these movies are great. Attack of the Clones is number 2 in the movie. Next week will be Revenge of the Sith, and, all that. Like I said, I'm going to go in the order that they were written in. So I might actually end up doing Rogue One before I do 4, 5, and 6, because that's, again, just in the order. Rogue One, I've seen it a few times, but I might need to rewatch it before actually making the video. But anyway, Yeah, no, Attack of the Clones, really awesome movie, really good. I liked it a lot. Let me know if you liked it too. Like I said, it's my least favorite in the original 6, but it's still badass. Like, it's still a great movie. Like I said, it focuses more on the political side of things and the romance of Anakin and Padme, and then pretty much at the end of the movie when the kind of like the Separatist and Clone War happens, that's kind of when, in my opinion, when the movie really kind of like takes off. And if anybody's ever played the Star Wars Battlefront video games, I feel like it's like watching that. Like, it's like almost like when you watch this movie, you almost feel like, or you remind yourself about how cool that game was. And then that's it. I don't know. Like, something about that ending war reminds me of that video game. And that video game was that video game was awesome. That game was so cool. It was insane. I love that game. But anyway, that's my talk about Star Wars Attack of the Clones. I think it's great. I know I could have went over so much more, but like, this movie is incredibly awesome. Get to it. You know what to do. If you haven't seen it, please go watch it. I wanted to wish everyone again a happy Easter. And more importantly, other than it just being Easter, I just want every one of you to have a fantastic day. You know, go be with your family. You know, again, another challenge. Make sure you call your friends. Make sure you call your family. Tell them you love them. All that fun stuff, because life's too short, you know, and you'll regret it if something, God forbid, happens to them, you know. Just give them a call, guys. Tell them you love them, you know, and it could make their whole week, could make their month. Maybe they would love to hear from you, and they're just busy, and, you know, don't take it to heart if they don't reach out to you. I know the phone goes both ways, but do what you got to do. Anyway, guys, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and always remember to have a fantastic day.